But I think integrating the people so that they are all team members working together, that's going to be the key for this going into the future.
Today, my guest is my good friend, client, and founder of what was known as PCF, now Trucordia, Peter Foy. Pete, great to see you today.
You too, Al. Appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you. It's always good to see you.
You've done a great job. I'd love to start there, how we got together.
Somebody from your firm had called me and, wanted to talk. And then I think you got on the phone and wanted to talk about, hey, you got a nice agency. You'd make a great platform for somebody who have $5.5 million, large accounts. That was great. And I said, Al, I appreciate that. I've had a lot of people call and do that, but I kind of want to do my own thing. I wanted to do something. You said, you want to do what? How old are you? And I think I was in my late 50s or 59 or 60. And it was funny because she said, you want to go out there and compete with all these billion-dollar companies, do that, travel the whole country and do this? I said, well, I think we could do it a little differently. And it was funny. I think you had a lot of skepticism in your voice at that point.
The big thing was you engaged with us, like any other client would. And you're right, 5 million, 5.5 million, whatever you were top line. And we went through the process, which was a great process. And my people kind of walked you through it. And we finished the analysis. And I think we were showing about $1.5 million of EBITDA. I think we gave you an education on even what that was at the time.
Yes.
And, we went through the process like I normally would with any potential suitor that was going to go out and try to find a third-party partner. And in walking through, you had me go through all the paces. I talked to you about all the other investors out there. And when we were done, you said, this sounds great. I want to be one of them. And that's what I said to you. I said, Peter, do you realize what it takes? I mean, to get private equity money, first of all, at $1.5 million of EBITDA was going to be a stretch to begin with. We knew you were super well connected in some other things outside of the business itself and some of the political things you were doing in the LA area. And we knew you had a lot of energy and a lot of piss and vinegar, and you had a great background, a great story. So I said, okay, let's give it a shot. Peter, you defied the odds because at 5 million, $1.5 million of EBITDA, to get to where Trucordia is today, it's amazing. Teetering at 900 million, it's been amazing, Peter. And it's built not only been amazing to work with you, but the friendship you and I have built is second to none. We were able to help each other continue to build our businesses and change our lives is very meaningful to me.
Yeah, me too. There's no question. I got to say that I think I've told you this before. I just appreciate what you did and believing in me. I mean, you're the best of the industry. People come to you all the time about, hey, back me. Can you do this? And I know you look at that and go, hey, that's a big ask. But you did with me, and you trusted me, and you believed in me. And then you brought Kevin in and BHMS, and both of you guys together, did that. We had the opportunity to find some good board members and do that. And then, but the other thing is, Al, is you also taught me up. And I think that's, to me, is a critical part of the friendship. You're not just a guy who said, look, I'm doing deals, but you're also a person who cares about people. You've always said that people come first. And I think you've lived that. It's always about the people, do the right by the people, and things will be done. And I think if I look at that now, it was always, in our calls, in our stuff that we would do, we meet with people in the first 15, 20, 30 minutes. If they're not talking about their people and how this is going to affect their people, how it's going to be good for their people, we're not doing the deal. And if I look back and say, they always say the best deal you could do is the one you didn't do because of problems with people, which is true. It's only the deals we ever had problems with. It's only been a few. It's always been about the people that caused the problem.
And Peter, you still have a tremendous amount of energy and just a really good way about you with people. And, we backed you because of you. And we knew you were a real good businessman. And we knew you had a lot going on and were really well connected. And I think the thing that was very interesting that you were able to do on a short period of time is you were able to attract not only a lot of good talent, but a lot of younger talent. You really resonated with the younger principals. And you were also part of that original decentralized model. That decentralized model now no longer plays. But that's the thing that attracted so many people, was the ability to be part of something as a shareholder and continue to help that make your mark and be part of helping this thing grow. Where now, if you're not integrated, okay, and you're not focused on, it all working together and creating that organic growth by integrating systems, not just systems, but people and all kinds of things, you were, one of the first ones that really followed along that decentralized model, and it really worked for you.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, one of the things we looked at is our focus was, let's look for the business builder. Let's look for that entrepreneur that really wants to grow and build. And a lot of those were the younger guys and women who really wanted to continue. I mean, my wife always cracks up when we do a deal or something out. You close a deal on a Wednesday and you just paid somebody $15 million or something. And they're there Thursday morning, work 8 o'clock, ready to go to work. This is what they do. And that's the kind of guys we were looking for. Those kind of people that want to make a career out of this, not just I build my business, sell it, and move on. That wasn't our deal. We walked away from a lot of those because we wanted the people that were just going to build and continue to build the business. We were just going to do it as a team. They were building it on their own. We're going to do it as a team, just like you and I have done together, and others. We just build it as a team and to continue to do that. And then now, as you say, you got to integrate that part. But I still think it's about the people. If you still focus on the people, even as a big team, even as you start to bring the names together and everything else, it's like one guy said, it's not the name on the front. It's what's, on the back of, it's what the name's on the front, right? It's on that jersey. And that's what I think is together. It doesn't mean that we lose the culture and we lose who you were, but now you're part of this big organization, just like a great baseball player comes in, their name's on the back. But what's on the front of that jersey? That's who we are as a team. And I think that's where our focus was, is to come together as a team, build this as a team. And, you don't go from what did we start this at $11 million valuation, and then you just saw what we did with the $5.7 billion in 7 or 8 years. I mean, it's sure I could be part of it, but it's all of us as a team who built this thing together. And like one of our board members said with PCF, it wasn't PCF, my initials, I think it was people come first.
I'm glad you say that, because really what I want people to take away from this podcast is we really started this. We did it. You and I and Kevin really started this and really with the core of building this company. And now it's obviously much bigger, and leadership has changed, including your role and where you are, which we'll speak to here in a bit. But it's been unbelievable to see, and it's been life-changing. And people need to know, we started this. Peter Foy was my client that hired me, not knowing what we were even going to get into. And once we kind of educated him on where his assets sat in the market and what it looked like and what he needed to do to position it right and all the options out there, you opted for the toughest road and took the toughest road, just like you did when you tell me the story out of college after you played football and you didn't know what you wanted to do. You went to Australia and built strip malls, was super successful, came back, didn't know what you wanted to do, met one of your old college football teammates, was in insurance, didn't know anything about insurance, got in insurance, started becoming a prolific employee benefits firm, large accounts, Herbalife, all these phenomenal businesses that you insured, did a little P&C, and you had a very, very strong business. I mean, today still, Peter, out of 40,000 insurance agencies, there's only about 1,500 over 5 million of revenue. So you were in that category. You took a big chance and a big risk to do what you did, and listen, it paid off. And it's been unbelievable. What do you see for Trucordia? And then let's talk a little bit about the marketplace in general.
We've built a really strong business. If you saw what happened with this new financing that Carlisle was part of, that we did, we aligned all the raisements and everything else. We moved some of the other people that were in it, get everybody in the same focus, so everybody's looking the same way. But you look at that, and we went out, and this thing was oversubscribed by over 200%. Stellar job. So with that, we do have the opportunity now to, well, first of all, we rolled a lot of cheaper interest rates, saving tens of millions of dollars a year in financing costs, which then frees up a lot of cash flow to continue down the path of M&A acquisitions of, the right quality organizations. But I do think no matter what, we still have the core people there, core agency leadership, of all those people that came and wanted to be part of the PCF Trucordia story are still there working. And like you said earlier, Al, younger ones that, they were in their 30s and 40s, and it's only been 7-8 years. And in the early ones, some of we came in 3 years ago, 4 years ago, they've got long careers. And that's what I'm excited about, to see these people as this company continues to move on with the new leadership and continues to grow. I think the future is really bright. And Carlisle is a tremendous partner. They were able to bring in a lot of money to this, but I think they also bring in a lot of expertise. And they have a big desire to see this company continue to move forward. So I look forward to watching that. And, now from the sidelines, as I've stepped out, before I stepped down from CEO and then was founder and chairman, and now I've just stepped out completely, letting the team do what they do and watch from the outside. It's going to be fun to watch them do what they do, what I know they are capable, and that's going to be good. As the market has adjusted, has changed a little bit. As we see, there's not as many deals being done. People are, as you always have said, people are much more selective with their money. Things are more expensive, and I think that's good, because every once in a while, doing too much, you want to make sure you find the right deals, what adds real accretive value to your organization. That's not just dollars and EBITDA, but people, technology, and even certain practices that certain agencies have. Because one of the things that was great about as we watched, everybody had certain talent that they did, and it was great to say, wow, these people have built their organization through this talent. It may have been the great technology they used, or great leadership, great understanding of the insurance industry, but they built doing something. And it was trying to find a way to put all those together and have them work together when you build a big platform. That, to me, is the real key of integration. Sure, you need to integrate the finances, you need to integrate all that. But I think integrating the people so that they are all team members working together, that's going to be the key for this going in the future.
Think about it in life, not just business. Everything you do, you're evaluating people and relationships and so on and so forth. I do think you had some really good financial partners with Kevin, of course, who's a dear friend to both of us. Then HCGC, Steve Young's group, and our friend John Block, and so on and so forth, who's actually moved on to his own thing. Of course, Carlisle speaks for themselves, Peter. I mean, they're a beast. You did the management buyout. You brought in some new leadership underneath you. What do you think of this last move, Peter? Is this move the move that's going to basically put you in a position to have another liquidity event? And how soon off do you think that may be?
One of the things that was really important is the leadership team and the new CEO that they talked about and with Carlisle, is optionality. Wanted to be in a position that you are always had flexibility, that you could go back and forth. And I think all of us in leadership position want that optionality. You don't want to be stuck into a narrow path that you can't do some things. And I think this is where we're at now, and especially with Carlisle. But Carlisle, I think I know is really focused on, we're going to build this, we're going to get this, really add a lot of value to the organization. But one of the things, talking with Andreas Boyd, the leader in this thing with the Carlisle, they truly understand that part about liquidity for partners, and their focus on that. And we talked about trying to see if that was possible in this situation, which wasn't. But they're looking at whatever they can do, and I think the current management is doing that too, is when there will be some basic liquidity event, something that even if it's not large, just enough that people can continue to pull some equity, which is true, because at the end of the day, equity doesn't mean anything if it's not liquid at some point. Now, it's not liquid every year, every 2 years. We've been very fortunate during our time. And you think about with Kevin, within 3 years, we were doing an event with HCGC. Within a year and a half, we were doing an event. And then, then we did some liquidity events where we had 50 or 60 or 70 million that we said we can do something for people. Because that was always my key too, was to try to have as much liquidity opportunity as possible. Even in the one event that we did, I think we had 50 million that we did. Some people I took a little bit. I took $10,000, $50,000, just to say I could. Not that they wanted it, because, we've handed out billions of dollars to people. They're all wealthy and they've done very well. But it's just the idea that I have the ability to have some liquidity. So I think the industry knows that, and they're trying to figure out how we're going to get that. These higher interest rates make it a little bit harder you put $100 million equity out there or liquidity, and if you got to borrow it, if you don't have the free cash flow to pay for it, you have to borrow it, and you're paying 8, 9, 10% interest. You're paying $10 million a year on that versus putting $100 million out there. You bought $10 million worth of EBITDA that's making you money. It's a hard transition for everybody to do. But I do know that Carlyle is focused on helping Trucordia find some way to get some equity over the next few years if possible. And that's exciting. Not saying it'll happen, but I know that everybody is trying to figure that out. But I also know that with Carlyle and Trucordia, we're going to see some real strong growth opportunities there. When you talk about somebody, like you said, the beast, and you need money, and you need the ability to do something, they have that ability to, as a great partner, Carlyle to do that. But going back in the industry, I do think when you think about 35, 40 platforms out there, at some point, some of these are going to have to start coming together, as we're seeing with the publics that are buying a lot of the larger, right? I think you're going to see a lot more of that coming together to work. It's just only natural. You see it in the smaller ones, from the million to the 5 or 10 or 15, 20. Why not the ones that are 100 million, 200 million, 300 million coming together to make even greater organizations? I see a lot of that happening over the next few years.
Yeah, I think there'll be some of that. I don't think there'll be as much of that as you think, because the better ones that are sitting at 300 million right now are going to be the fair-haired boys. They're the ones that are going to be what Trucordia was several years back, because they're going to still be able to do it with one sponsor, where that's the issue. The issue for a Trucordia, okay, in my opinion, at 900 million is, what's the plan? You did this deal with Carlyle. Carlyle was already in. They just really cleaned it up and got everybody else out. But what's next? I mean, if you're thinking about going public, you got to prepare now for that. All right. It takes a couple of years to get it to where you can go public. So you have to make that plan. And some of the smarter guys that are out there are starting to see this, and they're starting to do that, without mentioning specific names. But I know for a fact, because I'm super tied into all the major guys that, private equities that I've worked with and made a lot of money with and made a lot of money for, okay, in this space. I think you have to plan 2 to 3 years out to go public, if you're thinking that way. If you're thinking that you're going to do another sponsor, I think that it's much more difficult at the size you are, okay? And you don't really have a quote-unquote sponsor right now. You really have, with Carlyle, and correct me if I'm wrong, is really more of a debt facility for you. And I don't know if they hold any equity or how that deal works.
Yeah,
I'm not privy to it. Okay. All right. So
Get
they hold some equity. It's really not their private equity guys. It's not the same guys that are in Hild and so on and so forth. I don't think the same group, but obviously it's somewhat so. But I think it becomes tougher, Peter, at a certain size, as we saw with some of these really good multi-billion-dollar ones that were some of the best in class, that they didn't really prepare for going public themselves, thinking they could get another sponsor potentially, and now finding out, hey, that's just not going to happen, because those bigger private investors are not seeing the same values, because a lot has to do with the interest rates, but also that to get liquidity, which you said it best, and I've said it a million times, to get it for your shareholders, which should be your primary goal always, is take care of the shareholders, because that's what you're doing. You're selling these people to join you, grow with you, and grow the value with you. They're trading their equity off for your equity. And I think the big thing that I've seen is that some people that may have thought they still could get another sponsor and maybe have a couple sponsors like some of the others have, or pension funds or whatnot, that's kind of changed to where maybe the only alternative, if you're not preparing to go public yourself, is to have to sell to one of the larger entities, the publics. And listen, the publics are great companies. I got very, very fond of all the strong publics. They're fantastic companies, but I feel like it's a cycle going around now. I've been through this for 37 years, seen a lot of things. And it seems like it's coming back a little bit to the publics right now. Do you see that, or do you have any knowledge, and maybe you can't speak to, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, and you're certainly not the decision maker anymore on this, but do you get any sense that the game plan is to try to go public themselves, or potentially partner with a public or strategic, et cetera.
Well, I think it goes back to what we said just a little bit earlier. It's all about optionality, making sure you're going down the path that any one of those things could be an option. And, now just, we ended up getting rated, which was great. And that means, you're getting into that, you're doing syndicated money and you're having to get rated. And so you're going down those paths and getting yourself ready for anything. Like you said, it takes time. It takes time. And I know the leadership is doing that, making sure that they're ready for any option that comes down. And you don't know. I mean, the publics are an option for a lot of people. The going public is, going public is another option because, but the big public firms, that's one, there's not a lot of them. So it's not like it's that easy to be, right? It's
very tough.
It's very tough. Tough.
Yeah, it's very tough. It's tough to get another sponsor, Peter, if you're a certain size too. That's my whole point. I think I've said it on a couple of these podcasts. I've said on a couple of these podcasts that, there's a certain EBITDA number that puts you in another class. So some of the ones that are under that EBITDA number, they still have a shot to get another sponsor, but maybe not just a singular sponsor. Maybe it's a sponsor to sit alongside their current sponsor and ride that and then prepare to do something to go public. But it's going to be interesting to me because, now that you're, out of the mix for a little bit here now, obviously we put a lot of people in there, a lot of good talent, a lot of people who are shareholders and a lot of people I care about, including my own partners and myself who invested alongside with you. We like to know for ourselves. I'm anxious and curious to know what the game plan might be. What's next for Peter Foy? What are you dabbling in now? What are you doing? Because I know you're not sitting around watching YouTube.
Oh, that's not me. But going back to your memory thing, of thinking about how fast we grew and stuff, and doing those 80 deals, 85 deals one year, 89 or 87 deals another year in a row. And there was a lot going on. We had a lot of fun putting all of that together. And the best part about this is just meeting the people you got to do when you're doing this kind of stuff. So I was excited about that. But as I go, you're right. I'm not a good spectator. I'm more about, I got to be in the game. It's, I'm not going to watch a ton of sports all the time because I'd rather be playing it than watching it. And so in this situation, it's great though, because I do have a ton of equity in this business. My wealth is tied up in this business, and just like all the rest of our partners too. So we all have a great interest seeing them continue to grow and to build, and to, I'm here to do whatever if they need me or Carlisle needs me for anything. But I got to let them go. And as they continue, you hate to have the other coach that just left still being in there, right? You got to let them do their thing. But I believe there's so much talent there that we can see we're going to see some tremendous growth. And I myself, like you had said before, I do a lot of things anyway. When you first met me, I was a county supervisor in Ventura County, north of LA, and so that's supposed to be a full-time job. We had other things that we were doing too, owned a winery and all these other pieces. I'm always an entrepreneur, always doing that. I think that's why I also love the business built around entrepreneurs as when we did the business, because it's just part of who I am too. It's just what I do. And now I've got a big branch that we're building. We're building a line of meat product stuff that we're doing on top of that. I've got a ton of things we're working on. I got some other projects in Southern California that we're doing. So yeah, I've got a lot going on. But it's I don't sit, as you know, I don't like to sit. As one person had said, if we go to Hawaii with this guy, the rest of us going to sit on the beach. He's got a plane, gone to Honolulu to spend a little time during the day, gets back for dinner because he's just not going to sit and do it. And that's a story, which I did because I'm just not that kind of person. I need to be involved and be creative and building. My whole thing is it's about building. And that's what I love the most, is taking something from nothing and creating something. And that's why I enjoyed the part with the PCF and the Trucordia. Is that was a great opportunity. Think about it. I've been in this business for almost 40 years. So I got a long history in this from the insurance side, but the best part about the insurance, you have the opportunity to meet with a lot of CEOs, people, and learn their business and do what they do. But my whole thing was, I want to build. I want to continue to build. And that's where I enjoyed what we did together, was that building process, is really building something special. that people can do. And how do you do that? How do you go from $11 million in value to $5.7 million in value in 7.5 years? How do you do that? Because you got a lot of great team members, a lot of great people come together to make something happen. And that's where I sat back and said, wow, this is a lot of fun. And it was good. I mean, we were on a plane, flying 400 or 500 hours a year, getting out, seeing people all over the place. And a lot of my team members couldn't keep up. You talk about the energy level. They just couldn't keep up. I just, you get there at 7 in the morning, you come back at 8 or 10 at night, just keep going. But that's what it's all about. And I think that's what I'm excited about with the team that's been built there, and all the members of that organization at Trucordia. They're all about people, and we've continued to have great people. I'm just excited. When you have great people, great things will happen. And that's why I see the future of Trucordia doing really well. And I'm excited to sit back and watch, because like you got equity in this business. I got a ton of equity in this business. I want to watch it grow. I also want to see people be successful too. At the end of the day, are you going to count the money? You lie on your deathbed again and say, look at all the people's lives have changed. And now you've changed a ton of lives, and you've helped me change a lot of lives too, because of what we were able to do. That's pretty exciting.
Appreciate you saying that. And that's why we backed you from day one, because we knew you weren't sitting around. I think there's a strong level of comfort for me to hear, as your friend and a partner and shareholder, that you feel good about, where Trucordia is and where they're going. Because I think a lot of people that will view this, other shareholders and whatnot, will want to hear that the fact that you still hold a lot of equity in it, and, you're going to do whatever you have to do when needed to help the cause. It's not just, hey, look, I'm no longer the CEO, I'm no longer the chairman, I'm no longer on the board, and I'm doing my other things, but you still have your eye on the prize here. And I think that's key for us to know, because I think if you were totally out of it, had no equity left in it or whatnot, not that I don't have the confidence in what's there now, because obviously something will happen, because you have to get liquidity for your shareholders. And look, we've got some very good liquidity for the shareholders, and not like we didn't have a couple really good events in a short period of time. I mean, probably faster than some others. Like you said, the first one was 3 years, and within about another 2, we had HGGC. So within 5 years, we had 2 events, which sometimes you don't have one event in 5 years. So it was a credit to the growth and the strength and the people we're bringing in, and so on and so forth. So it as you said, it's been quite a run. At some point, change is good. What you've done is not really easy. And anyone thinks that this is easy, any of this is very easy, is very mistaken. It's tough. It's tough taking money from private equity. They want to know each week what you got in the pipeline, what you got in LOI, what you got in diligence, what are you closing? How do we look? And are we integrating? And now how's the organic growth? You covered every step, really, step by step, and took this thing from 5 million to 900 million. And I give you a ton of credit, Peter, for what you did. I'm glad to be part of it. And like I said, I was glad to be one of the, not so much founding fathers, but in theory, you, I, and Kevin really were the guys that started this. And that's the one thing nobody should ever be mistaken about, and should respect.
No, there's no question. But, you really are a part of it. And there's no question, because, it may be me doing one part, but you did the whole financial side, did it together, and you brought it. So when you pull it all together, there's without each one of these pieces, it doesn't happen. One of the things, Al, I think that you've done, because you're just based on people, which is really interesting. Everybody talks about it's about the money, and I think you'd say, yeah, it's about the money too. But you also take it to the next step with somebody when you're saying, I can get you your multiple, I can do that. You're going to make a change in your life. Make sure that you're going to partner with the right group. And I think you've been really good about that, where a lot of people may not be as focused on that. Let's just get the deal done. You've been, like you said, you don't need to be this. You've been so successful. Your organization's been successful. But I think you really focus that, which was, for me, was really something to see, because there's been some deals that people wanted to do deals with us. And I just didn't think we were the best ones for, even though they would do the deal. But you kind of showed that, where you would say, listen, you're going to spend the rest of your career with this group, and make sure it's the right group and it's the right, culture for what you're doing. And I think that's been something people sometimes overlooked because, yeah, I just got to deal with it. No, but I got the right deal with the right. I think you're really focused on what is really good for everybody long term.
No, I much appreciate you say that. I mean, still to this day, when we take up some of our clients, quote unquote sellers, to the market, the first two things I tell them is enjoy the people you're going to meet here in this process, because these are some of the best people in the industry and some of the best people you'll meet overall outside of the business. But the biggest thing I tell them is, yeah, the money takes care of itself. The numbers are the numbers. Obviously we do the most deals in the country year in, year out, and we wouldn't be doing the most deals if we were getting lousy financial results from clients. So that takes care of itself. But the second thing I always tell them is pick the people. Enjoy the process, pick the people. Because those who don't pick the people really are the ones that make the mistake. And it goes both ways. So I appreciate you saying that, Peter, because we put a big emphasis on the people. I personally put a huge emphasis on the people, even the clients that we choose to let us, engage with them, to engage us. I mean, I'm picking and choosing that at this point. It's great to get to that point in your life, because when you're a young, hungry guy, you got to take all comers, and anybody who wants to work with you, you're going to do everything you can, but you learn a lot, in a long period of time. I've been doing this, like I said, my 37th year. Hate to age myself. I feel great. You look great, Pete, and you're rolling, and we're going to keep rolling. Guys like us will just keep rolling. But it's really now for me, what I'm doing is to the people I work with, and certainly my partners and the younger people of my organization, that I'm building this to last. I'm building this for them, just like you feel you have, and you've passed the baton now, but you still have a great interest in seeing it succeed. And I think that's what everybody here that's going to watch this is affiliated with you or Trucordia or in some way, shape, or form is going to want to hear. And I think you definitely articulated that today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah. Again, changing people's lives, how much better can it be? I mean, I think about how many lives we've changed, how many generations of lives we've changed because of what the financial side can do for them and their kids, their grandkids, their great grandkids. That's great. But at the same time, as you always taught me, you're repositioning that asset. That's what you've always said. They're repositioning their asset for growth. And that was it. I just remember people saying, how are you going to do that in the beginning when you haven't done it? It's kind of like we have to go tell them what you're going to do. You get in the middle, you tell them what you're doing, and then you're already doing it. It's kind of an interesting thing. And with Kevin Angelos as somebody, again, as another great partner, he was tremendous about one thing about Kevin versus some of the others. He gets his hands dirty. I would sit next to him at a table. We're going through numbers and with the sellers doing that together. And one thing about Kevin, he knows his business. He gets it done. And there's nobody, I think, that's built as many organizations as somebody like him has done. We're also teaming up with you to make those things happen. The Hill Group, PCF, some of the other ones that he's involved with. And so it's been interesting to learn from all of you. One of the things I think about great leadership is you're always alert. And I don't care how old you are, you just keep learning and learning. It's amazing what you can accomplish. And I think we're the picture, or we're the poster child of that. Just keep learning. Look what can happen. Somebody said, Kevin said to me one time, maybe you'll build a $500 million, $1 billion organization. You kind of say that it's pretty rare to do that. There's been, few that have done it, and we're one of them. That's pretty cool.
Well, you always had your eyes on that prize, Pete. You always use that $1 billion number, which you'll easily achieve. And look, Kevin I deal with so many private equity guys. Where Kevin is special is Kevin built and started it and did it himself. A lot of private equity guys haven't been able to start their own thing and do it. And, as I always say, put it on the line. And Kevin, like Sica Fletcher, isn't the big name, although, I don't know if we're the big name now. We're the leaders in the clubhouse now, but we're not, we're not JP Morgan or any of those big names. But Kevin is very much like we are. It was very much a boutique, and he wants to be a boutique, and he was able to grow his business like we were. And, he's a super smart guy. He's done extremely well for himself. I'm glad that we had a lot of interaction with him that helped him get to where he is. And, we had a great podcast a couple of weeks back, and that's already That's already out. By the time people see this, they've probably seen his, a month ago already. But it's been terrific. The whole way this evolved, Peter, the friendships, the relationships, everything we built are forever lasting. And I'm indebted to you for giving me the opportunity for you to engage with us, to work with you and put you on this path. And to hear you say, that I changed your life, that's meaningful to me because you will equally change my life. And I'm so appreciative here today that we took the time to do this. And, we'll always be friends. We'll always keep in close contact. And we'll be, rewatching Trucordia together. We still do work with Trucordia, obviously, on both businesses, our advisory business and our financial diligence business. Great people. Okay. We'll continue to do that, to do our part to make that business as good as it'll be and continue to do so. So I appreciate your time. Unless you have something else that I'm missing that you want to address here, this has been awesome, Peter.
No, I thank you, Al. And I appreciate the support for PCF Trucordia that you've given. And, at some point you're at 15, 20% of all the deals we were doing there for a while. So you've done a lot, and I thank you for that. And again, they're a great company. So we've all are heavily invested there. We're good. But I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate these because there's a lot of people out there that want to know, how did this all happen? What was the difference with these guys? And, but it's interesting. I think you call this your leaders and legends or whatever else, but I think that you forget you're the great leader, the legend too. So thanks for doing this.
Appreciate that. Right back at you. Thanks for joining today. And thank you again for your time.
Thanks, Al.
All opinions expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and are not necessarily those of Sica Fletcher. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as professional advice. Sica Fletcher employees and clients may have positions in the firms discussed in this podcast. Any information provided is subject to change and does not constitute an offer to purchase or sell any financial product. Sica Fletcher LLC does not underwrite securities, nor advise on, nor affect transactions in securities for the account of others. For more information about your unique situation, please contact Sica Fletcher or visit us at www.sicafletcher.com.